still freaking me out. You really should. You just, I don't know whether I've got Ebola or my vision's going on.
Anyway, between crixus and Deathstroke, who won the fight?
Crixus and Deathstroke. Well, it's funny because I think Crixus would come out and go like, "Capua, shall I begin?" You know, and then like Slade would just pull his gun out, like, you know, like Raiders of the Lost Ark, and just go. I don't know whether Crixus would even understand what the gun was. You know what I mean? The last thing you would hear, he'd go, "That must have been the thunder of the gods." Yeah. Thanks, brother. Cheers. Hand to hand, who knows?
Ooh, that would be great.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. And you spoke, I just wanted to ask you, back in the Legend Sand days, what was it like fighting the shadows since he was like a Southern Wisconsin? So like, what was it like for you?
Yeah, he was a really interesting character, that dude. He actually works on the door at the local dance club. You know what I mean? Full dance. And he's a really interesting dude, you know. I mean, when you meet him in presence, he's just, you know, he's giant and quite menacing, you know. But also very soft. I mean, a lot of the times when you meet these big guys, like I did 2 WWE films with John Cena and another one called The Marine, and I did another movie called The Condemned with Stone Cold Steve Austin. And all of these big guys, so they're like really soft voices, and they're like, you know, they're cool. They're just, you know, it was intimidating when you meet them, but you know, of course, that size, that physics of them is what makes them so powerful. So once we started getting onto the set and doing the choreography for the fight scenes, and he started swinging his weapons and whatnot, you know, I mean, all of a sudden you felt very small and quite vulnerable. And you know, see you guys. Did your mom call? I got the last word on that.
No one else did.
Yeah. So you know, this guy had an incredible reach. That was the first thing that I realized in the choreography. You know, when he was swinging a sword, and I mean, you can imagine being a gladiator back in the day, you would have had to come out against all these types of difficult physical specimens, you know, big heavy guys that could take cuts. And there was one guy that, you know, I wasn't in the fight, but Spartacus and Varro, I think, put a chain around his neck and popped his head off, right? That guy was so big, and they say that back in the day that probably the best gladiators, this was part of the history of it, were actually a little bit overweight because the fat layer would protect them. People who were very lean, it gets their organs quickly, you know what I mean? And so they bleed out, and so you know, have a bit of fat as part of that. But you know, going up against the Shadow of Death, that guy, yeah. As I sort of moved toward him in the choreography, and he was swinging his sword around like that, I realised, you know, like a big fighter, you know, like Tyson trying to get in on what's his name, the British guy who just kept on. Yeah, Lennox Lewis. Yeah, you know, just kept his jab on him, just kept him out there, and bang, bang, you know, because you know, he's small, you just can't get in. You know, so that was an interesting thing. But he was a big boy, you know. And I remember the time where he had fallen back, like the first time when everyone thought he was dead, but he wasn't. He got back up. But seriously, he did such a great dead fall and hit the ground. You see it when they played it in, you know, they played it in Phantom Speed just because he did it so well. He just let himself go, and all of his weights went. You see the whole ground tremble because of the size of the guy, you know. We'd fall on the ground and be a little bit of dust. He fell on the ground. You know, but that was just fascinating. You know, I mean, all of the different fights that I was involved in had its own unique signature. You know, which is the case. You know, which was, back in the day, the entertainment of seeing different styles of fighters, you know, would have been, you know, even better than MMA, because MMA is still just, you know, like, you know, it's fists and wrestling and boxing and mixed martial arts, but these were all different weapons, different types of weapons, you know. And the way you kill a person was different with every weapon. I remember the fight that I had against Octus in Gods of the Arena. That was Crixus' very first fight. And, you know, the guy who I was fighting against was actually from the Australian Ballet Company. So this guy, like, I used to dance. And like, you know, when I move, in choreography quite well because I understand movement through dance. And so when I fought against this guy, it was like a really incredible movement thing because I could move. Like some guys just don't have a lot of coordination, but they came onto the show because they were whatever, they were big or they had strength, but then you got them onto the ground and they were awkward with their feet or their choreography wasn't smooth and he'd bang, be sort of jagged. But this one guy was just fluid. And I remember that one particular fight in particular was just, just for me visually, it was really like a predator on the same level, having to move around. And I think he did this thing where he ran forward, he did this thing called a longette in ballet. He jumped right up in the air with his spear and they did it like in Phantom Cameron was playing for a second. And you see he leapt up into the air, you just saw this prowess of a dancer, but also somebody who probably could have been good as a gladiator back in the day just because of his movement skills. But yeah, I mean, just all the fights were unique and had their different signature. But I felt Dave, he was one big mother, yeah. No worries.
Leading into these guys had some great questions that lead to my question. The different fighting styles that you learned for Spartacus and how that led into the different fighting styles. Like what arts did you learn for, like what type of martial arts did you kind of like pull from or like, to teach you for Arrow?
Yeah, what they taught us for Arrow?
Right, like what
Or
you
for
did
Spartacus?
for both. Like what did you do for Spartacus and then like did you take any of that when you started doing Arrow, or did you like learn completely new arts and stuff that they tried to teach you to kind of modernize everything?
Well, of course, the main thing that we had to learn was how to use a sword and a shield. One of them's defensive, the other one's attack. Not always defensive, but the shield sometimes would spin and try to take off the opponent's head. But the idea is it's so that it becomes second nature. So basically we had these move one, block, strike, move two, upper strike, block, stab the guy through the middle. And there was these numbers that would be called, we do them repetitively. By the end of probably the guys of the arena, we were all very fluent in it. It's like being a boxer, when you're jabbing. If somebody throws a punch, you react straight away as well, you counter. So a lot of these things started becoming very second nature to us. To the point where, there was one time where a guy came on to the set and we had 3 types of swords that we used on set. There was a real sword that was made of steel. And that was only ever used as we were presented into a scenario, when they do close-ups and then the real sword. Then there'd be hard rubber ones which we'd use in sort of like close-up fight scenes, and then have a soft rubber one, which was for, when you were fighting another actor, then it would be soft, just in case. And we were hitting each other all the time, so having the soft ones was a smart thing. But I remember coming on to one scene, and it was a new actor. It was his first fight scene. It was one of the brothers, Duro, and I started the fight scene with him, and one of the things was I used that signature kick to kick him up into a wall, and then he lunged at me with the knife, with his sword. Well, I kicked him up against this wall, and he came back really quick. He sort of went bang, and then bounced off the wall and came straight at me and was stabbing right at my heart. And I naturally just sort of used my sword to sort of parry it. It wasn't the block that I was meant to do, but I naturally just moved myself around this way, and his sword hit my pectoral muscle and just started cutting through it. And cut it. He had the real sword. And as it went through, I just went, "Stop right up, mates. Bleeding, cut. Have you got the real sword, brother?" Yeah. The armourers are meant to swap, meant to absolutely make sure that the real swords aren't being used on the set. One of the difficult things was that there was usually 20 or so gladiators training in any given scene, so everyone was running around putting their swords on the ground. You'd always become back going, "Where's my sword? Who's got my sword?" And everyone would be, so just once in a blue, it only happened twice. It happened then, and then it happened right at the end of the whole show. We had the fight against the Romans. And I was doing a really big fight against 12 guys coming at me, and just sort of parrying, and some guy was coming over this way, and he was sort of stabbing me through again. And as I hit his sword, I felt that it was a real one. You can feel it, you know. Your sword hit it a bit hard, and I stopped the fight. And I said, "Hey, dude, you got a real sword. Stop with this stuff. Someone's gonna die." You know, but if it wasn't for the second nature thing of actually parrying and moving out of the way, some of that stuff could have been more serious. There was one time where the shields, when we first started, the shields were made from wood. They were hard, they were made of metal and wood. And we had these soft swords, and my logic was, and I said to the stunt fighters, I said, guys, okay, we're soft on the things, but these shields are like, we're using them for these sweeping around moves where we sweep at the guy's head. Surely this is dangerous. And they were like, no, we'll be fine. So I had a fight scene with Andy Whitfield. And I had to do this spin where I did a 360 and I went round to backhand him with it, but he moves out of the way. And I said to the guys, I said, listen, this shield's a real weapon. And they said, no, I said, we've done the choreography, you'll move out of the way. And so as I spun around, as I came out to the last move, the force of my spin and just the snapped one of the straps that was on my wrist, one of the things holding the shield to my forearm, and so it flayed out, and it hit Andy Whitfield straight in the side of the face. He had to cut down the side of his eye, and I was like, I said, so right. The next day, we had foam shields. It was phenomenal. I don't know how they did it. They must have had like 100 little minions working away over these fun shields. But the next day we came on the set, everything was fun. Yeah. But the techniques, we had to have a lot of trust in each other. I was probably the worst because I really attacked. This is crixus, I think, just in my role, I thought my role was very aggressive and I had to keep that up. And because of my dance training, I had an idea of proximity, so I'd always be fighting within an inch of the person. But that would intimidate a lot of people. But also it helped kind of raise the standard. Everybody, the stunt guys gave me a lot of respect because I dedicated myself completely to just really taking that role on. And it helped other people sort of raise their game. But at the end of the day, we're all working together. We're all just trying to make this show as real and as gritty as possible. You could never have done it here in America. The safety rules here, and in Canada with Arrow, they have different safety rules. If there's a stunt, the stunt guy comes in. Forget about it, the stunt guy comes in. In New Zealand, the stunt guys were working as gladiators on set as well, so they were getting paid all day regardless. But say for Arrow, they're not part of the fight scenes, so they only get paid when they do the stunts. So in Arrow, it's kind of like, I remember, the head of the stunt department said to me, listen, Manu, if you do your own stunt, that means your double doesn't get paid. And he's got kids at home, and he's got to put the food on the table. I was like, oh yeah, of course, no worries. That wasn't the same case in New Zealand, so we got away with so much. And when we were all going down, I knew the woman at the local emergency ward. And I'm like, hey, finger, my eye, you're cut across the chest. Shoulder rotator cuff's gone again. I broke 3 ribs in one scene where I had to tackle Gannicus, and it wasn't Gannicus, it was his stunt double. So I said to him, "Listen, mate, I'm going to hit you hard." The stunt guys were great on that show. I said, "I'm going to hit you with as hard a tackle as I can because they're going to shoot this in Phantom." So when I was shooting a side on, I just went, he would go through the air. So I was like, he'd take it in the gut and just totally double over, bang, into the ground, right, on a Phantom shot. And so he said, right, fine. And so I swear I ran at him like the biggest football tackle, and I took him right in the midsection and lifted him right up in the air and just threw myself through the air with him. And as I was coming down, I could feel that his knee was bent. And when he hit the ground, it stayed bent. His foot hit the ground flat, and his knees stayed completely bent like that. And I just landed full body weight on top of his knee. And I felt it all just give in. And I was like, and I rolled up and I was like, oh my God. And I was like, I can't breathe, guys, I can't breathe. And you're okay. And I thought it was my intercostals, because I did my intercostals in the early part of the first season, which take 2 weeks to You know, if you cough, it's 2 or 3 weeks to get over your cough. So I thought it was that. And so we kept on filming. Did you ever see this? You know the scene when for those of you who didn't watch Spartacus, I'm sorry we don't know about Spartacus so much, but there was a scene where in Sinuessa they were going to burn the grain, and they threw the torch and I jumped forward and grabbed the torch before it hit the oil on the ground. That was about 40 minutes after I broke 3 ribs. And every time I did it, I was like, oh, this really hurts, guys, but okay, let's do it again. 2 days after that, I flew to San Diego Comic-Con, and on the plane, I swear I almost died. You're not allowed to fly with broken ribs, and I know why now. And it was a horror story when I was on this plane, just going like, this is, but got through it, did San Diego Comic-Con, got on the plane, flew back to New Zealand, actually, and on the flight back, the same thing, came back again, and I went to a doctor as soon as I got home, and he went, you got 3 broken ribs, got x-rays. I went to the stunt guys, I went, look, I had 3 broken ribs, and I'm like, oh. It was talked about for a while, yeah. But we were committed, you know, we were really committed.
I was wondering, what was it like working with Bruce Wallace, Xena, Mark Anthony, and then again Spartacus?
Well, the thing is her husband is the producer, Rob Tappert. So that's 2 shows he's cast me to sleep with his wife. I just rang him up and said, Rob, just invite me around. No, I shouldn't say that. Rob's not. It's on a very professional level. What happened was going back to Xena. And this was funny because it leads back to Spartacus again. Because I got the job because of Rob Tappert. I got Spartacus because of Rob Tappert. As a matter of fact, the American studios didn't want to cast me because they thought they needed a bigger name in the role. And so they were really hunting for somebody here in the US, but Rob Tappert stood up for me and said, no, Manu Bennett can do this role. Great Rob. But you know, going back to that particular episode of Xena where I played Mark Antony, that was really the first. Look, I remember getting that role and thinking, like, this is my first real role. You know, I'd done bits and pieces on stuff, but to play Mark Antony felt like a real great, a great classic role to play. And when I got on the set for it, this is in 1999 or 2000. But when I got onto the set for it, there was a fight scene with some Romans, and they had these rubber swords. So I said to the stunt guys, I said, because usually on Xena, especially Xena was kind of like, rah, 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 it was kind of a little bit camp in a way, which is great, it's the genre, but it wasn't quite as necessarily fierce. But this episode seemed to have a bit of ferocity. As a matter of fact, when that episode, when Mark Antony and Cliff that episode aired, it was the first one that was put into a 9:30 time slot on American television, because usually it aired at 8:30 because of the violence in it. They changed the rating for it. But in the particular fight scene that I had to have, I attacked these guys and I said, look, I'm going to hit you, because these are just rubber swords. So let's not hit the air, let's just run these strikes through as though they're real. So the stunt guys went, okay. And so I attacked them, I was hitting them. And the security, or the medical woman on the set went, stop, guys, stop, you're not allowed to hit each other like that. And we're like, oh, okay. Well, years later, it was still a great fight scene, and that's why Rob remembered the intensity that I put into the Mark Antony character. And so 10 years later, when the Spartacus auditions came up and I read for it, Rob Tappert rang me and he said, Manu, this is Rob Tappert. Listen, all the executives here in America, we all really like your take on crixus, but we can't offer you the role unless you promise us something. And I was like, what? He goes, well, remember 10 years ago on Xena, you were hitting the stunt guys? You have to promise us that you're not going to hit our Spartacus. Literally, they came out of his mouth. And I was sitting in this bird aviary at a zoo in Sydney. All these birds went, and I was just sitting there in this serenity going, but this question, you're not going to hit It's the weird thing. I said, I promise, Rob, I won't hit anybody, I promise. And I never kept that promise, I hit everybody. But yeah, I mean, it was for me, Rob Tappert, I had Rob Tappert really my career, because he gave me that role, and he gave me 30 Days of Night with Josh Hartnett. I played Billy Kidker. That was my first role with a major American star. And then he gave me Spartacus. So, you know, he's been my mentor and my savior and the guy that really made my career happen. Okay. But I tell you what, when I'm kid, where's that kid? Cover his eyes, block his ears, whatever it takes, and that kid. Whenever I was on top of Lucy Lawless, on set, right, and I'd be like, okay, Lucy, here we go, right? So we start getting going, and then I'd look sideways and Rob would be on set, and I'd be like, hey, Bob. It happened on more than several occasions. It was just so weird. I was wondering what he was coming down and watching. I'm making sure that nothing was to that. Thank you.
I was wondering, how was it when you were transitioning by flashback and current day or how you had to take it?
Listen, television runs at a fast rate. Literally you're getting scripts days out from when you're going to shoot. There's not a lot of preparation time and you've got to be on your toes. Okay, some of the storylines that were coming in fast and furious, like the love story with Shadow. I'd done like 3 or 4 episodes of the show with the girl who played Shadow, and it was like, you know, all of a sudden they were going, you're in love with her. And I was like, really? I'm like, yeah, we're going to go on this love triangle thing. And I was like, okay. So next thing I was coming through the bush and they're making out on the side of the lake and I looked really broken hearted. All of a sudden I got to play that, you know. So I did. So, you know, like, it just, you know, it's up to the writers. You've really got to put your hands in the writers to segue between storyline to storyline, because you can't read into it yourself. I don't try to read ahead with my characters. I just try to live them in the moment. But if the writers are good, which the writers are great on Arrow and they were great on Spartacus, they keep on giving you material that just ramps up whatever's going on, and you just need to be able to, as an actor, to bring good, subtle, dramatic changes within that flow that feel natural, you know. So coming up to the Mirakuru stuff was a challenge, you know, having to sort of take Slade out of what was really a friendship and a dedicated friendship to a young boy on the island to actually wanting to kill him, you know. Making that leap was quite dramatic, because it happened quite dramatically, it happened quite quickly, you know, and then going into the Mirakuru rage. But mate, I tell you what, if you're an actor and you want stuff to sink your teeth into, when you read a page like that, you're like, here we go. You know, I mean, I don't want to get on the merry-go-round, mate. I want to get on the roller coaster. You know what I mean? As an actor. So I love it when that happens. So take me to the Big Dipper. Yeah. When I read that on the page, I thought, oh my Lord, I'm now not going to sign any more autographs at Wizard World. So this one's wide perimeter. There's that guy who killed his mother. You know, yeah, it was pretty full on. When I read that, I was like, whoa, they're going to throw him off the cliff here. I thought maybe there would have been some work, some movement back toward the friendship, but that went out the window with that. And yeah, man, you got to just keep on committing yourself to each scene that comes along. But you know, I remember playing that scene, and I remember it being wonderful because Stephen was acting his ass off, as was the other 2 cast members. Everyone was doing a really, really good job of making that scene very real. And I think everybody at home was just like, what just happened on this show? You know, which is great. When that happens, it's like, yeah, we're working. You know, the drama's working on a show, and they did so well with that execution of that scene. Yeah, it was great. Thanks, kid.
Hi, I'm Jessica. I wanted to create The Hobbit, so thank you for that.
How you doing?
My question is, what was it like to film The Hobbit as azog?
It was a completely different experience. Motion capture was without any of the other performers present. There's no environment. My wad was a pole horse, from the gym. When I got onto it, I was like, what is this? And he says, you're on a giant guard. And as an actor, luckily I fleshed some stuff out because he just wanted me to keep on feeding into the scene. It was the first thing that I shot was the end of the first movie with Gandalf and all the dwarves up the tree, Thorin. And so he said, okay, you're going to be on this, you're going to be on your wag, you write on your wag, and then you look up at this tree and here's all these guys and you say to the orcs on the other side of you, can you smell the fear? I never wanted Azog just to be all big and mean and threatening all the time. I wanted to meander through different emotions, like he was a real being. So I kept on twisting the way a scene would work on that emotional level, and Peter would always be shaking his head going, what? But I said to Peter, like, we're about to go into the scene, and I said, wait, Pete, this thing that I'm sitting on, it's my wag, right? It's my wolf, it's a special wolf. And he went, well, I don't know, you're the king of the orcs, so yeah, you got a special wag. I said, well, you know what? Like, I'm the pale orc, what makes my wolf different? And they said, well, let's make it a white wag. You know, we started fleshing out what this wag was. And I said, well, did I find it as a puppy? And I was like, oh, there's a white one. I'm the white orc. Give me the white one. I want the white one. Right? And then I raised it, and then here it is, and now I'm kind of like the Lone Ranger and Silver, you know? Right? So I said to Pete, wait, okay. So it's a white wag, it's mine, I've got a relation. Can I, instead of delivering this line to the orcs on the other side of me, I've got a fork on my hand, haven't I? I don't have a hand anymore. We haven't even done that scene yet. And I said, he's going to cut my thing off and I've got a fork here. And he said, yeah, you do. Well, can I lean down and instead of delivering the lines out here, can I lean down and where's his head? Where's the head of my wag? And he said, well, it's all the way out in front of you. And the first time I tried to do it, I almost fell off the front of this pommel horse because there was nothing in front of it. Then I started rubbing my hand, which was meant to be this pitchfork, through the hair of the air. It was in the air. And I used the, can you smell the feel, which is, ubak, dude, ubak. I said it really softly into my wag's ear. And it's not the way I was meant to be. I was meant to be, ubak, you know, but we suddenly brought the wag into it. Suddenly I had a relationship with my wag, which I wanted, so we scored that.
So Slade Wilson had a ton of different costumes from all the way from the islands to the very nice posh Slade. And I'm just curious, over all of your roles, what was your favorite wardrobe and your worst wardrobe that you had to do?
Well, when I first came in to play Crixus, they went, here's your costume. I went to all of us. Okay, subligaria, it's called a subligaria. There's your subligaria. So yeah. But I didn't mind, you know, I didn't mind the nudity, I didn't mind anything that was involved in Spartacus. I thought it was all very real. I thought it was a great, you know, we had to live in those conditions. And that we weren't in those conditions, and we weren't stripped down to our flesh like animals. And we couldn't have brought out a lot of that texture. So, you know, I was more than happy every time it said Crixus has to stand naked in front of Lucretia and whatever, you know, but it was cold. So sometimes you just didn't want to stare there naked. You'd be like, well, how many people on this planet have seen it, for God's sake? You don't want to be completely deflated. But the Deathstroke costume was awesome. You know, I mean, when they finally delivered it, you know, you'll see on, if you go to YouTube, the first time I wore it, I said, guys, you've got to keep on rolling after I put it all on, you know. Like, if you go to YouTube, there's a thing of Deathstroke dancing. Right? And I basically did this. It was the very first time I wore the outfit, and I put it all on, and I was like, put the gun on the side, swords in the back, the mask goes on, I went, right? And then, as I was standing there fully dressed, I said to the camera crew, keep the camera rolling. So I went, It's better than that. It looks, and in the outfit it looks really cool. It moves really well. But yeah, I mean, look, it's all wonderful. Costume departments for Arrow and for Spartacus were phenomenal. Everything that I wore have always been. I've always been lucky enough to be working with some really wonderful people. Yeah. Cheers, man.
Hi, Manu. We spoke earlier. You're clearly a wonderful human being, and
I hope these two get married.
mortgage, yes.
From a distance on television. Yeah. You know, it's great to have a romance on television and to know that romantic thing, like me and Navia through the cage and that, you guys watched it and it helped your romance.
Yeah.
I'm glad it did.
It really was.
Yeah.
It was when we first started dating. We were watching Spartacus. Huge Spartacus fans. And forgive me if it's a little faux pas for asking one actor about another actor, but you spoke about Andy Whitfield earlier, and he was really one of my favorite parts of Spartacus, and he really seemed like a wonderful human being, just like you. And I was wondering if you have any special stories or anything wonderful to say about him, because he just seemed like a really great guy and a really wonderful actor. He was really Spartacus. No offense to Ian McIntyre, but he was.
Yeah, you know, I'll speak more about his son. Jesse would run up to me, like when his dad was the champion, right? His dad was the champion. His dad was not one of the call sheet, the Spartacus, the new star on television. You know, his dad was going places, right? His son ran up to me and he'd go, "My daddy's gonna get you." No, he's not. And we had this little stand-up, little talk that would happen all the time. And you know, it was fun. It was fun until the day that it all went down. You know, Andy got sick, and then I didn't see Jesse. Jesse and the kids weren't brought to the funeral for Andy, so we didn't see him for a long time. Then I saw on like a week to go before we finished filming the whole series, the whole show. I see this woman and two kids on the side of the set moving on, and I realise it's Andy's wife and two kids. And I looked over, and I'd heard that Jesse, who was the oldest kid, must have been about 6 or 7 when his dad passed away. You know, I lost my mother at a young age, and I just had such emotion for this kid, you know. And I could see it in his eyes. I could see the kid had changed, you know. And then he came around the side of the set. I went, "Jesse, hey." And he looked at me, and he ran at me, and he ran to my arms, and I grabbed him, and I just picked him up, and I was hugging him, you know? And that to me was the most important link that I ever got to have with Andy, was through his son, you know? And, but you know, I'm so thankful to Jesse that his father lived so beautifully on that screen for his father, because he has that championship image of his father to hold on to. You know? But you know, yeah, Andy was so special in many ways. Normal person, you know, just very talented and a great boss. So, you know, somehow that resonance and everything that he did was felt over globally. So, you know, yeah, I don't think about it first. He owned it, and you know, it's his. And thanks for mentioning him.
Yeah, I didn't mean to like bring it down or anything.
No,
I wanted to lift it up, you know, to lift him up and to lift him up.
Okay, let's have Andy Whitfield here. Start the series. I am Spartacus. After 1, 2, 3.
I am Spartacus!
Last question, sorry.
Oh, we'll do it quick.
Yeah.
So thanks again for kind of being the Spartacus brought me and my future wife together. I also didn't want to bring her here because I thought you might be the end also.
Hey, there's a little bit of me in you now.
Right, I almost had to like challenge you to arm wrestling to like win it back.
I don't want to take on those guns, brother.
No, so I told you earlier I was going to get on you a little bit. Just from, you know, some movies to Spartacus to The Hobbit, you know, you do a lot of traveling. How do you, you know, some people think you're kind of a fit guy, you know, whatnot. How do you stay in shape? Is it like strict diet, working out in hotels? How do you keep it up?
Yeah, you know, I mean, look, usually it relates to the job that I've got at hand. You know, I mean, if I've got a challenge that's coming up, and I get such tunnel vision on what I need as a result. You know, the traveling that I do now, because I do a lot of these conventions and I enjoy doing them, I think there's a really great, wonderful human aspect to meeting so many people and making that connection. You know, this is all a big business in a lot of ways as well, but it's a business that thrives upon supply and demand. You know, people want to come to these events and meet people, but the whole thing sort of runs on. But for me, the most rich thing about it, mate, is like, I mean, having this moment with you and your wife, you know, like knowing, you know, this stuff that goes on a human level, you know, rather than just, you know, whatever. So you know, I take so much out of these conventions, but they have me traveling a lot. Like I've been on the road for 7 weeks in a row now doing conventions. And I just got back from Paris, and you know, I've done them all over the country. So the fitness thing gets a little bit difficult, like you try to get down to the hotel gyms and stuff like that. But you know, whenever I like, if I get a notice that I'm set to do Deathstroke again on Arrow, like I'll probably get 2 months' notice, or I'll drop everything and I'm going to hit the gym, because I'm telling you what, if Slade Wilson gets out of purgatory, he's been doing a lot of chin-ups. He's been on the salmon ladder. So yeah. So you know, I'm kind of like a chameleon in that regard. I respond as soon as I'm on the green leaf ladder turn green. You know, so I'm getting ready to have to get back into it. It's part of what I have to do. You know, but being on the road so much this year, it's had its toll a little bit in terms of how much time I spend there. That's why you're intimidating the hell out of me, man. Sit down with those big guns. We'll have to have that balance in one day, so give me 3 months in the gym.
What's up, man? I actually watched the Octus and you last night, preparing for today, but I really just wanted to ask, out of everybody that you have, you know, been involved with in combat, etc., like, who do you think is the best fighter in real life?
You know, I had this opportunity once. I landed the role to play Mark Kerr in a documentary, a film version of the documentary The Smashing Machine, and I trained my backside of it was for the kids here. I trained so hard, and I went to South Africa to film this movie, and I would have fought against Fedor Emelianenko, who I played Bob Chanton. He was an undefeated Russian pride fighter at the time, and also Shogun Rua from Brazil. And I was really looking forward to that, because that would have been the ultimate thing. But in that particular movie, Van Damme was meant to play Mark Coleman, and 3 days out from filming, he never showed up on his plane in South Africa, and this whole film fell over, and I was like, this big. And I had to go back to Australia and work as a builder's labourer for 6 months after that, because I had absolutely no money left. And I was digging a swimming pool out in the back of his house, and my manager rang me and said, Manu, what are you doing? And I said, I'm digging this hole. And she said, we're going to get you out of that hole soon. There's a show called Spartacus. So, you know, so I fell off the back of that, and then got into Spartacus came along, and I was so ready for it, you know. And, but yeah, I mean, some of the best fighters that I've ever, you know, been in the arena with were, you know, I mean, John Cena was a pretty formidable guy to go up against, you know, fighting him. He punched me in the face, like, by mistake, but he punched me square in the jaw in the middle of a fight scene in the ring. And then I punched Stone Cold Steve Austin in the eye in The Condemned. We're running up this volcanic, we were shooting on this volcanic island, and we're running up, and I come around the corner, and he comes out, and I slip, and then I throw a right hook, and then they said, you've got to throw that hook closer to him. I said, I can't, my footing's really unstable. They said, no, he'll be fine. I always second guess these guys. And I ran up around this rock, and Stone Cold threw this thing, and I slipped it, and I just launched this hook, and there was no stopping it. It was gone. From the moment I threw it off my back leg. And Stone Cold had stumbled and was stumbling forward, and I just went bang, and it was like hitting a watermelon man. I got him right in the eye. And he had a black eye for the whole first week of filming of The Condemned. And I felt terrible. But none of my nephews would believe me, because when Stone Cold said, I gave him a black eye, they go, you didn't give Stone Cold a black eye. But, you know, I mean, look, all due respect to him, that should never have happened. But it was sometimes, you know, choreography and close action stuff it's a bit close sometimes, you know, at that time it did. But hey guys, listen, I'm about to wrap it up. Thank you so much for coming. I grew up in a town called Newcastle in Australia, and you know, who would ever thought I could come to Austin, Texas, and have people responding? You know, we call it aroha in New Zealand as Maoris. It's a sort of a love, but it's a spiritual love. And you know, I can't believe you come here and you give me your attention. I'm honored, and it's you know, thank you very much. Cheers. Thank you.
Thanks, Manu.
Thanks for not canceling.
I'll be downstairs if you want to come and chat.
Thanks for not canceling.
Like everyone else.